One of the most confusing situations in marketing is when your content is getting attention, but your business isn't growing. You might be getting views, people might be liking your posts, you might even be gaining followers, and yet the number of customers stays exactly the same. So it creates a really natural question. If people are paying attention, why aren't they buying? And the answer is actually simpler than most people realize, because attention and customers are not the same thing. And if you don't understand the difference, it's very easy to create marketing that attracts views but doesn't grow the business. So in this video, I want to walk you through 3 very common reasons this happens. And once you understand them, you'll be able to spot exactly where the issue might be in your own marketing. Hey, I'm Stephen, and on this channel I break down marketing in a simple and practical way so you can stop guessing and start building marketing that actually works. Because once you understand the fundamentals, a lot of marketing suddenly becomes much easier to navigate. Views can feel like progress. When you see numbers going up, views, likes, followers, it's easy to assume that the business must also be moving forward. And sometimes it is, but views on their own don't necessarily mean that your marketing is working, because a view simply means someone saw your content. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the right person, they have the problem you solve, or they're ready to become a customer. And that's where a lot of businesses get caught out, because attention can grow, but if it's not the right kind of attention, it rarely turns into sales. One of the most helpful ways to think about this is to separate 2 ideas: attention and intent. Attention is simply people noticing your content. Intent is where someone is actively looking for a solution to a problem. And those 2 things are very different. For example, someone might watch a video about productivity tips, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're looking to hire a productivity coach. They might just be curious, or browsing, or just passing time. And this is where marketing starts to become clearer, because customers usually appear when attention and intent overlap. When someone both notices your content and recognizes that you might help solve a problem they care about. Let me make that really simple. You can get attention from people who are curious, entertained, just scrolling. But customers usually come from people who are thinking, I need to fix this. I need help with this. I need to solve this problem now. And those are very different mindsets. Someone watching out of curiosity might enjoy your content, but they're not necessarily looking to take action. Whereas someone with intent is actively looking for a solution. And your job with marketing is to take attention and guide it towards intent. And if you're getting views but no customers right now, one of these 3 things is almost always the reason. The first reason this happens is surprisingly common. You're attracting the wrong audience. And this doesn't mean the content is bad. In fact, sometimes the content performs really well, but it performs well with people who were never likely to become customers in the first place. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone runs a fitness coaching business. They post a video showing a really tough workout. The video does well, lots of views, lots of engagement, but if you look closely at who's watching, a lot of those people are just there to watch something impressive. They're not thinking, I need a coach. They're thinking, that looks hard. And those are very different mindsets. So the attention grows, but the number of clients stays the same, because the people watching the content aren't the same people who would actually buy the service. The second reason views don't turn into customers is something I call an expectation gap. This happens when the content promises one thing, but but the product or service delivers something slightly different. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone creates content around quick marketing hacks, short tips, simple tricks, fast results. That kind of content can attract a lot of attention because it feels easy, it feels quick, it feels like something you can apply straight away. But if the service they actually sell is long-term marketing strategy, there's a disconnect. Because the content is attracting people looking for quick wins, but the offer is built around deeper, longer-term work. So when people watch the content, but they don't move forward as customers, it's because what they expected isn't quite what's being offered. The third reason views don't turn into customers is even simpler. There's no clear next step. Someone watches your content, they find it helpful, might even agree with everything you've said, but they're left wondering, what do I do next? And if we're honest, this happens all the time. You watch something useful, you think, that actually makes a lot of sense, and then you just move on. Not because it wasn't helpful, but because there was no clear next step, no direction, no obvious action, and the same thing happens with your content. If the next step isn't clear, the viewer just carries on scrolling. Should they visit your website, book something, download something, reach out to you? If that path isn't obvious, people don't take action. Not because they're not interested, but because you haven't guided them. And this is surprisingly common in marketing. People focus heavily on creating content, but forget to connect to a clear call to action. You see this situation quite often with small businesses online. For example, imagine someone selling handmade products. They create beautiful videos showing how the products are made, the craftsmanship, the process, the detail. And the video attracts attention. People love watching the process. They comment, they share the videos, but the sales don't increase very much. And that's the confusing part, because from the outside, it looks like everything is working, because the content is focused on the creation process, not the reason someone might buy the product. So people enjoy the content, but they don't necessarily feel prompted to become customers. Once the content starts connecting more clearly to the customer's needs, gifts, occasions, personal use, the business results often change quite quickly. So if you ever find yourself in the situation where your content is getting attention but not customers, there are 3 simple questions worth asking. First, who is actually watching your content? Is it the audience you intended to reach? Second, what problem are they actually trying to solve? And does that problem connect to what you actually offer? And third, what should they do next? Is the next step clear? Those 3 questions alone will often reveal where the disconnect is happening in your marketing. Views are not meaningless. Attention is valuable, but attention on its own isn't the goal. The goal of marketing is to connect attention to a clear path towards a solution. When that connection exists, views can absolutely turn into customers. But when the connection is missing, attention often stays exactly that. Attention without direction doesn't lead to growth. So, if you ever find yourself thinking, my content is getting views, but nothing else seems to be changing, don't assume the content itself is the problem. Instead, take a step back and look at the connection between your audience, your message, and the action you want people to take. Because when those things line up properly, the same attention that once felt frustrating can start turning into real, measurable growth. If this video was helpful, give it a like and consider subscribing for new videos every Monday and Thursday. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.